Good morning, everybody. So, every once in a while, we catch these people red-handed in their programming, don't we? Now, one of you had asked me, I think it was yesterday or the day before, to decode the film called Only. And as soon as I'm confirmed that we are live, I'm going to show you the Wikipedia page from the film Only. Now, here's the problem. The film Only aired in 2019. Here it is right here, 2019. As you can see, right here, Tribeca Film Festival. So most likely this was filmed even a year maybe before that. Now this was just before the spamdemic hit, because that didn't happen until December of 2019. Yet, what you're going to see next are intense foreshadowings of things that had not happened yet. Now, before we get into these clips that I collected, let me give you the backdrop of this story. Now, I was going to do a Between the Headlines show today, but I ended up pre-recording one for tomorrow. So hopefully I'll see all you guys tomorrow. And then this clip that you're going to see next, I'll upload that on Sunday. So we can all get together for that as well. It's only about 5 minutes long, but we're going to break that down in full today. So what happens in the movie called Only? Here's the movie cover poster, as you can see here. So, a strange comet called Comet COVIno, COVINO. Yes, you heard me right. Comet COVIno. It approaches Earth and it drops this strange ash. And the ash causes the extinction of most women on Earth. And so the survivors are rounded up for genetic experiments. So there's a shortage of women and they need to find every single woman left so they can run experiments on them to try to, quote unquote, preserve the human race. Now, you're going to hear in these clips that there are bounties that are offered by the government to report any sightings of women. There's also a black goo or black powder or soot component to this as well. And of course, there's the reproductive aspect. So the story goes like this. A man and his girlfriend basically evade authorities, and she eventually becomes one of the last women on Earth. He protects her with sanitizing everything, and you're going to see all of it. And he's able to do it for a couple years as they hunker down in this self-quarantine, and he protects her from this mysterious ash virus. But then it becomes too much for her to handle, and she ends up walking outside and exposing herself. Now at that point, she's got about a week to live. So the couple decides, okay, she's going to die anyway. Let's go on a road trip. But while they're on the road trip, she has to disguise herself as a man because she's still being hunted for her eggs. Now, the woman's name, and you're going to see her here in a second, her name is Eva, like Eve in the Bible. And her last name in real life is Pinto. This is her here. Her name is Frida Pinto. Now, of course, pintos are beans, which are seeds. And if you think that's ridiculous, keep watching, because this is some pretty dark stuff. Now, they actually mention seeds all throughout the film, as you're going to see in a moment here. Avocados, eggs. Basically, it's all about the seed of the woman. This is just weird. Now let's go through these scenes. And what I want you to focus on is the vernacular, the terminology, and visual symbolism about things that had not happened yet in human history. And that's the dead giveaway. It's subtle in some instances, but when you see it all together, the way I'm going to put it together for you, against the backdrop of the present situation, it's undeniable. Let's watch this here. Oh, forgot to put my headphones in. Hold on, guys. Unprepared. Now, at the end of this, I'll tell you a funny story about my trout fishing trip yesterday, because it's going to make you laugh. Okay, here we go. We're back on track here.
It's been 48 hours since the mysterious ash began to fall throughout parts of the world. Debris that has now killed thousands of females and infected millions more. Struggled to contain the spread of this disease. Doctors have now verified trace amounts of the virus in at least a dozen human males.
NASA just announced that we should all be in for quite a show over the weekend. But before we get to all of that, we wanted to kick off today's show with a bit of cosmic news.
It's only women.
It's only women. It's only women.
COVIno's Comet.
COVIno's Comet. COVIno's Comet. COVIno's Comet.
You can't make this up. A word that did not exist in our vernacular is almost spelled out letter for letter.
Taking its rare journey close to Earth.
Carolyn, I'm out of here. See you later.
COVIno's Comet will be taking its rare journey close to Earth.
Carolyn, I'm out of here. See you later.
Up and down the east.
The House and Senate unanimously approved an increase in reward from $1 million to $2 million in the hopes that
$2 million bucks.
Now, after she exposes herself to the ash, she comes back and, of course, she's showering and washes it away. And it reminds me of the black goo and other substances being talked about a lot surrounding current events. You have to read between the lines on that. Washes it right down the drain. We were just talking about this a few days ago, weren't we? Now, there's a huge emphasis on testing, which is, of course, happening now.
What? You don't reckon they gonna pay? You tell me you turn in your wife, your daughter for $2 million bucks?
Not my daughter. I'm talking 1 or 2 eggs here. They're running a damn science experiment, a human chicken coop out of it.
Now, as I said earlier, they're offering a bounty on all women, but most people in the film realize that not so good things are happening to these women once they're captured and that they're being experimented on. And so you just heard the guys at the bar. They realize that just because they say it's safe doesn't mean it really is. That's in the movie. Not me saying anything about anything else. So then she does all this internet research because basically the people are realizing the truth about this. And look at this. First, they take your ID, then your phone, then your clothes. Shortly after you arrive at a local detention center, you're assigned a number, transferred onto a series of buses designed specifically. Experiments uncovered, embryo project in the movie. What does this say over here? Every once in a while I find other things in my own decodes. So the virus is called HNV21. Keep watching.
Pictures like that. You're in front of the window. It's not safe. You know what they do?
Now I'm starting to wonder if in the film, if this comment wasn't just a cover story, right? for why the ash fell and where it really came from. The ash that depopulated the earth, basically. Comet COVIno.
Do them, don't you? Yeah, they say it's safe. Yeah, they say it's safe. Yeah, they say it's safe.
Now, for those of you that watch this channel, you've seen smiley faces before because we've covered them ad nauseum. So at the end of the film, he brings his girlfriend to a waterfall. And basically, she's in the last few days of her sickness. Takes her to the waterfall, basically to die. And I believe that the waterfall really represents the fall of the womb. Because the womb is the water world, right? Holds the water, which holds the life. It's the medium for life, basically. Water is. And this is crazy because something that they will do or already have done to us, I believe, will cause the failure or the malfunction of the womb. And that brings us back to the smiley face symbolism. We've seen it all over. We've seen it going back even before the spam-demic on this channel. We were talking about the smiley face. The serpent waging war on the woman. This was the very first prophecy of the Bible, of course. And then I woke up this morning and the Holy Spirit revealed the truth about the smiley face. Watch. Notice the seed aspect. Avocado seed, tomato seeds, the seed of a chicken, which is eggs, seeds, seeds, seeds. So what is the smiley face? Really? You're going to see in about 5 seconds.
Okay, just a little bit. Just a little bit more.
Okay.
So that's what the smiley face was all along. And when they turn it to a sad face, that's basically the end of the womb. The waterfall. Womb fall.
I've never seen anything like this before. I caught it.
Now what you're going to see next, now a lot of people say, oh, this is just a typical virus movie, Casey. No, this is specific symbolism and visual imagery associated with our current spam-demic, except it hadn't happened yet when this film released. And it gets pretty specific. Watch.
To quarantine as soon as it started. But quarantine? I've been trying to reach a friend.
Where do we go? What do we do?
You have to follow my instructions exactly.
Bleach, cleaning supplies. Watch. Masks. Lysol.
This will be over in a few weeks, but
look at all the cleaning products. This is exactly what everybody went out to buy. Wipes, Lysol, UV lights. And you're going to hear him mention 2 weeks. 2 weeks, like the lockdown.
This will be over in a few weeks, but until then. This will be over in a few weeks, but until then, I'm going to keep you safe.
You go to the store.
It says, I'll keep you safe. And this is what they have promised us.
What's with these lights?
Masks.
UV lights, baby. They kill pathogens and germs within
a couple feet.
When I come back from the store, when I come back from outside, we don't know what I'm bringing in. We don't know.
Your dad was very clear with us. He told us the things that we had to do every single morning, what you had to do every single day.
This officially makes HNV-21 the fastest and deadliest epidemic in modern history. I'm not sure how else to report this. The death toll has clipped 10 million females today worldwide.
You and I both know how this goes. Day 1 is hemorrhaging. Day 2 is dizziness.
Now, when she catches the ash sickness, she gets some pretty specific effects of the side. And you're going to hear them, and they're going to sound very familiar to you. Okay? And somebody in the chat, please help those who aren't understanding where they've heard these effects before. Please help them to understand them. And you're going to have to read on the bottom of your screen because I can't even say these effects. But you'll see on the bottom of your screen, and you'll understand.
And loss of motor control. Ava! Now how this goes. Day 1 is hemorrhaging. Day 2 is dizziness and loss of motor control. Ava! Day 4 is seizures and convulsions. If you make it that far.
So, there you go. And so then this song plays, and the lyrics to this song are about being asleep, and in time I'll have you dreaming all of me. And look what's currently consuming the world and all the headlines. We're all basically dreaming all of it right now.
I don't want any of this.
I'm waiting for you to wake up and realize that this is life now.
This is life now. This is life now. This is life now.
And this is your life right now. So, pretty crazy film. Now, we'll be back on here tomorrow with the Between the Headlines show. I'll tell you a funny story. After I got off of the live show with you guys yesterday, I decided to go fishing. Why? Because I went onto the website for Connecticut and they stocked a bunch of trout in this stream. I thought, oh, this will be fun. I'll get myself some exercise. And so I go on down to the stream, right? And when I looked online on the website, they told me, oh, well, they didn't tell me. It said on the website that you could fish in the stream. There were no alerts. There was nothing on that particular stream that said that there was anything wrong with catching any fish. So I went down there and I'm hiking, and it was, it's nice out. It's crisp. It's one of those crisp fall mornings. And I thought, man, it'll just be great to catch some fish, right? So I'm walking along, and when I first got out there, it was like one fly fisherman on the bank. And shame on you for being an order follower and someone who just thinks that their day is made by turning someone else in, because one day it's going to be you that gets turned in. One day it's going to be you, and it's going to be for something that, this isn't going to be too fun. So I'm walking up and down this creek, and I'm having a great time, just all by myself. Now, there are signs up that say catch and release only, but the website said something different. There was no catch and release warning or anything of that sort. It looked just like all the other streams that they stock. Now, for those of you that don't understand how getting a fishing license works, when you buy a fishing license, it pays for stocking programs to stock trout in streams. So what it pays for. It also pays for the jobs of the fishing game officers that run around and do this, right? There's people that have to load these trout into a truck. The whole thing is ridiculous because you have farm-raised trout that are being put in wild streams, and then rules are being put on how many you can keep and take. And in many instances, you can't keep any of them. You have to use special hooks. You have to catch them and put them back. Sport fishermen. It's like saying jumbo shrimp. Who fishes for sport? Fishing was done for thousands of years to survive. And now all of a sudden it's a sport. So I'm walking up and down this creek. I walked probably a good mile. I'm fishing. And I didn't catch anything in that creek with the signs up. But I walked back down to the lake, which is literally 30 yards from the creek. And there you can keep 5 fish. You can catch them and keep them. So I caught 3. And I start walking back to my truck. And I'm start up the engine. I'm like happy. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm going to go home and eat some fish. The fish that I spent probably $20 in fuel, a $38 fishing license, and several attempts, and had caught no fish in other places. And finally, after three trips, I finally catch some fish. So I'm hundreds of dollars into this project, right? For 3 fish that I already paid for that got stocked. I fire up my truck and I see a truck approaching me. Really nice truck. We were just talking about this the other day, weren't we? How a person in a $60,000 truck with another $10,000 worth of laptops, radar, bulletproof vest, a Glock, a $60,000 a year job is running around just pretty much preventing people from harvesting anything in nature that God gave us. So he pulls up and I had the courtesy of stopping. He didn't tell me to stop. I just rolled down my window. I saw a guy driving up because I didn't do anything wrong. And he says to me, "Oh, did you catch anything?" And I go, at first I was like, okay, there's something going on here. Now, I'll have to admit, I lied to the guy because I'm like, I don't like to talk to these people, right? Because the minute you start talking to them, you're going to get yourself in trouble. So I kind of lied. And I said, no, I didn't. I probably should have told him. I caught him back there in the stream. But what transpired next was just crazy. The situation escalated. Now, I remember telling you guys a story of what happened to me in California, where the guy put his hand on his Glock. He walked me up the hill, told me, put your hands where I could see them, for a fish. And I ended up getting a $300 ticket for that interaction and almost probably lost my life because the guy was real jumpy. And I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", over 200 pounds. And this guy was little, and we were out there all by ourselves. And this was near Stockton, California. So I could have very easily, one false move, he could have just snapped. And if you don't think this can happen, understand it happens every single day. So, he goes, "Did you catch any fish?" And I said, no. He goes, were you up at the creek? And I go, "Yeah, I was up there earlier." "Yeah, what's up?" And I was being totally nice to this guy. And he says to me, now this story, when I finish the story, I'll tell you why this is important that I'm telling you this story. It's not just about me almost getting a ticket or anything like that. I'm going to wrap this all up and explain to you why this is a sign of very dark times to come. So he goes, "Well, we got a report." Now, granted, I was only there about an hour and 45 minutes fishing, okay? We got a report that a guy in a gray truck was keeping fish. And so I say to the guy, I go, "You're not allowed to keep fish up there on that creek there?" And he goes, "No, don't you see the signs?" And I go, "Those are stocked fish that I paid for with this fishing license. You want to see my fishing license?" Pull out my fishing license. He pulls the thing out, starts going through it, the fine-tooth comb. And I go, "Somebody called the cops on me?" I go, that's that's really shady, sir. He goes, look, man. He goes, the sign's there. I go, look, I went online. I go, if I had caught a fish there, I can show you online where it doesn't have anything that says that you can't keep those fish. He goes, well, I've got the guide right here. And I'm going to give it to you. Pulls out the guide. Shows me catch and release only from this stream that feeds into a lake where you can catch and keep 5 fish. So I was like, sir, we're literally 30 yards from the lake. And I go, where does the lake start and the stream end? I go, do you have like a line, or did you put a dotted line under at the bed of the creek? What happens when it rains and it floods? Like, where is the actual line where the creek ends and the lake begins? He goes, well, where that sign is. And I go, okay, fair enough. I go, but why does what it says online not match up with what you're showing me and telling me? I go, you guys need to update that. I go, because listen, I go, here's what happens. Okay. Trout stocking programs are few and far between in terms of where they put these fish. And so oftentimes people will come from, because trout can't live. Let me clarify that. Trout can't live everywhere. Okay. They need cold water that's moving. And there's like a handful of places that meet that criteria. So when they start stocking these fish, fishermen come from sometimes 2 hours, 3 hours away. How do they know where they can fish and what's legal? They go online. They go onto the website. And right there on the website, it tells you whether or not it's a catch and release trout area or it's somewhere where you can keep trout. And so people will drive for hours. Now, fortunately, my trip was only 30 minutes. But, you know, I hit some traffic, you know, I was like all excited. So I show up over there and I told the guy, I said, look, people drive for hours. I go, if you guys don't fix what's online, people are going to show up here and it's basically like a trap. You're trapping people because they're, you know, if I had caught a fish on that creek, which is 25 yards from the lake, and kept it, I would have got a ticket. He goes, yeah, you're darn right you would have. He goes, and I can't prove. Oh, so let me back up. I'm jumping ahead of the story. So then the guy asks to look in my cooler in the trunk of my car. I said, sure, I have nothing to hide. Now I had 3 fish and they were in a bag. They were not in the cooler, but I knew he was going to find them. He opens the tailgate of my truck and I'm just feeling completely violated at this point, right? I show up to get some exercise and to catch some fish, get my mind off of what I do every day, you know? He goes, you got fish back here. You lied to me. He goes, this whole thing just changed. The whole mood of this thing just changed. You just lied to me. You got 3 fish back here. I go, oh, I thought you asked me if I caught him in the creek, right? Because no, I asked if you had any fish. Now you lied to me. This whole thing, the whole thing's changed now. I go, are you serious? I go, I didn't lie to you. I just didn't, you know, I caught him in the lake. That's legal, right? Well, yeah, but how do I know you caught him in the lake? I go, you don't. So what's going on here? So he goes, I go, look, it says right here online, if I had caught those fish in the creek, it says online that I'm allowed to do that. He goes, you can't go by that. So anyway, long story short, he's like, look, I'm not going to give you a ticket because I can't prove it. He goes, but if I would have caught you walking on the creek with those fish, he goes, you got to put them in the car. Once you leave the lake, they got to come straight to your car because if I would have caught you, it's possession. Possession of the... I go, are you kidding me? I go, you're talking to me like I've got 17 kilos of freaking white powder. I go, are you kidding me? So Fortunately, the guy didn't write me a ticket. He's like, I could write you a ticket right now. $75 a fish. And now you see the problem with law enforcement. It's a money racket. It's a control racket. The reason why billions of dollars are invested in fishing game, and I'm not saying that they're not necessary, because there are people that go out and completely decimate nature. But now they've drilled this down to the individual, to one guy. Now I could even understand if I had 20 fish in my cooler, because that's not fair, right? Because what if a guy who also bought a license comes later and he can't catch any fish, right? Because I've put 20 in my cooler. So I even understand limits. Okay, even if I've already paid for those fish, I think 2 to 5 fish is fair. Kind of makes up for the trip, even though they're farm-raised fish, which isn't the healthiest thing. But to drill down all the way to the individual person who catches a couple fish, there should be absolutely no rules on that. None. It should be any time of the year. It should be a couple fish a day, a day's meal. But you see how it's not about that. It's about control. It's about disenfranchising people and disconnecting them from nature. And this is why I was so upset with these hunting and fishing channels who just capitulated. They got their money from all their views, and then they decided that they weren't going to stand up and challenge some of these rules, because you have a voice now to do that. And instead they just played along. And now YouTube's coming after them. And they think that they're safe. They think just because they're playing within YouTube's rules that they're going to be okay. But after a matter of time, YouTube's going to say, we don't want anyone promoting anything being taken from nature. And they'll be gone too. So that's what happened to me yesterday. I told the guy, I said, look, I'll probably never come back here. He goes, well, what's the problem? He goes, all you got to do is follow the rules. I go, because first of all, who called the cops on me? And how did you get here so quick? I go, is there a field office nearby? Where did you come from? He goes, well, look. You got to understand that this is a piece. And I go, I get it. I just drove through a bunch of $1 million houses to get down to this creek/lake. And I'm the guy that doesn't quite fit in because I don't have a 2021 or later vehicle. And I see all these people with all this money around here concerned about what I'm doing. And I go, it's ridiculous. And you know it. And I got kind of bold with this guy. He could have written me a ticket. Because I kept going with him. I go, you guys need to fix this. This is not fair. I go, I came from California. I go, I'm just not very happy about this state right now. I go, I've had some good run-ins with you guys. And it's been all right. I go, but we're not talking about even this creek and this lake. We're talking about the atmosphere of what's happened to America. And I tried to get him to understand it. And he probably won't, because he's an order follower. And all these people are. That they could use terms like in possession over a fish. In possession and catch and release and what kind of hook you have to use. If those fly fishermen want to fly fish, there's a trillion streams way up in the mountains. That's where you're supposed to fly fish. Not down by the ocean. So anyway, needless to say, I was a little upset. And it's just a symptom of a bigger problem. Bigger problems that we talk about a lot on this channel, which is control, the control grid. And it's only going to get worse. Some of those fishing game guys have drones. They'll fly drones over and catch you in the act. Catch you in the act. So, there you go. Now, I had walked by one lady, and I was on the creek, didn't have any fish with me. And she asked me very specifically. She was standing with 2 other ladies. And shame on her too. And she said, did you catch anything? And here's the thing. Why not just walk up to a person and say, look, this is catch and release. I've been here for a long time. You might not want to, keep any fish here because they do patrol here. What happened to common courtesy? Same thing happened to me several years ago when I was in California fishing on the McCollum River. No one came up to me and warned me. Everyone's like, oh, nice catch. Great catch. And then they sneak around and they pull out their cell phone and they dial the number that they probably have on speed dial because this is what they get off on. This is what these people do. They've become activists for all the wrong reasons. And look, don't join these people in what they do. It's not going to make sense for us to then start calling the cops on other people because it's just a bad character quality. It just is. And that's exactly what the controllers want us to do. They want us all policing each other so they don't have to do their jobs. And then they just sit around and wait for a phone call. And they run over. Or in this case, they'll stick a bunch of fish in a creek and then go around and hover around like flies trying to bust somebody. It makes absolutely no sense. So this lady's on the trail. And I'm a talkative guy. If you were to ever meet me in public, you'd be like, wow, that's a really nice guy. I'm like, no, I didn't catch anything. She goes, well, what are you using? I go, I got this little spinner. And then she like made a face. And that should have been my first clue. When she made that face. You can't use a spinner. What she didn't know was that it was a single hook spinner. And I wasn't even on the creek. Anyway, there you go. Now, I left there with a very bad attitude, and I had to catch myself because that's another thing you don't want to do. You don't want to get a bad attitude and just close yourself in from the world. You just have to have a freaking biology degree to understand the rules. Make sure you don't get yourself in trouble because all you're doing is just handing over money to the state and paying for people's jobs. And, a lot of people give into these rules. Another dumb rule, you got to have a deer tag. You guys know how many deer there are running around? There's so many that tens of thousands of them get hit on the roads every year. They really cared about preserving the deer, wouldn't they invest millions of dollars and put up giant deer fences along the highways? But they don't. Instead, more deer die from getting hit by cars than are hunted. So what kind of sense does that make? So this is when you realize it's about revenue. It's not about protecting the deer. Look it up. Look up how many deer die from roadkill. You will be shocked. It's like more than people hunt them. And look, let me preface that by saying, I do not like waste. I don't like people who I don't even know, okay, let's say a company wanted to sell deer jerky and so they would pay people to go out. Well, even that should be okay. You run a deer jerky company and you're gonna source that with hunters. That should be okay. That's what America was founded on, right? This is wild game. But see, this is what the controllers hate. They hate people who are able to survive outside of their system. They want to tax everything. They hate people that get something for nothing. They want everyone in a, what is it called? A 1040 job, 1040 easy job, or, they don't even like 1099 jobs. They don't even like self-employed people. Why? Because they tax the heck out of you. 15% right off the top, just for payroll tax. And you're lucky if you get any of that back on write-offs. But then what are write-offs doing? It's just you spending more money. So you can't get ahead. It's everything disincentivizes individualism. in this country. Until we realize that, we're going to keep believing their lie, that we somehow live in a free country. It's the illusion of freedom. The illusion of freedom. All right, let me get off my soapbox because I was getting a little irritated there. Okay, let's see what you guys are up to. Yeah, you need Monsanto deer jerky. Yeah, exactly. Then it's okay. They can go and kill all the horseshoe crabs they want, test medicines on them. That's completely okay. Unbelievable. All right. Well, freedom is a facade. Exactly, Tom. Can't even go catch a fish. Can't even go catch a fish. I wanted to give those rats a tongue lashing. I wanted to walk up to every single one of them and say, do you have anything better to do than call the cops on people? Seriously? So, I think the only reason why I got out of that ticket is because the cop was afraid of racial backlash. I did not quite pull the race card. I kind of inferred it a bit because, we are in a 99% white community, and they saw a guy in a late model truck. I've got a 2002 truck. It's not a junky truck, but it's an older car. And I'm walking up and down there, and, and I'm sure that they were just like, this guy's out of place. What is he doing over here? This is our creek. Don't come around here. And they just called the cops. So I wanted to give them a tongue lashing, but I didn't. I just drove away. So this is the world we live in. Okay. Now, I did that once. I felt really horrible. You guys will remember it was the beginning of the spam-demic, and I walked into a UPS store. I think I pulled that video down, actually. And I pulled the race card, and I felt horrible afterwards. And I apologize to you guys, because all that does is feed into the whole fake race thing, right? It's not really about race. It's about class. You get a bunch of rich people, and then you get a poor person coming around, and they don't like that. They feel like they're protecting something, even though I'm not doing anything wrong. I haven't done anything. It's more about class. It's not about race, really. Unfortunately, people associate the way you look and a certain color with your class. That's the problem. They go, that guy doesn't live around here. He's of a certain color. Those people don't live here. What's he doing here? You see? So it's really not about race. And so, like, if I was some poor, vagrant white guy, I would have probably got the same treatment. But I would have had to probably look a lot worse than the skin color I have. And I'm not like dark. I'm not a dark complected black man. But I look ethnic. I have a fat nose. And I don't dress up to go fishing like these, $1 million fly fishermen, I call them. They've got on a pair of $500 waders, and they got a box full of flies, and they're walking around as if they're doing fly fishing yoga or something, telling on everybody. And so I looked out of place. Make no mistake. And so that's what it's about. Anyway, back to the story of the UPS store. I went in there, and this was right at the beginning of the spam-demic, and I needed some very important paperwork, and I needed it notarized. And I did not have a mask on, and this was before the mandate here in Connecticut. And the guy says, "Where's your mask?" I said, "Sir, I don't need a mask. The governor has not mandated it as long as I can maintain my social distance." And he goes, "Well, no." He goes, "There's no distance. You could." And he went off on me. And I go, "Is this how you treat your customers?" I go, "This is a UPS store. I'll call the corporate office and report you." And then, I go, "Look, I'm 6 feet away." And the guy would not take it. He was just wanted me to put on my muzzle. And I go, well, I go, is this about race? And as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I regretted it. I was like, I shouldn't have done that, because that plays into the whole B to the L to the M, that whole meme, all of that is all that fake. That was all propped up, and they were allowed to do what they did to anger the people on the right, which then pushed them to show up to the rabbit hole, thinking they were protected, thinking that they would get the same treatment as the Blum Blums. And then it was a trap. So, unless, I mean, listen, even if someone were to call me the N-word, I don't know if I would do anything about it. Look, that's your personal feeling. As long as you don't stand in the way of me doing something that you're letting everyone else do because of my color, then I don't really care. That's your personal opinion. Now, a lot of folks don't agree with me on that. They're like, no, you gotta challenge people, and there's such a thing as subtle racism. And look, I don't know about all that, but as long as you're not stopping me from doing what other Americans do because of my color, that's the only reason, that's the only way I'm going to call somebody a racist. And so far in my life, I don't think that's really happened to me. So anyway, enough of that. What else? Probably boring you guys to death. Yeah, don't ever pull that black. I know. Look, I'm not perfect, you guys. And I apologize for that. And I'll never do that again, because it just feeds into their narrative, because most of it's not real. Yeah, it is sad. All right, so what else do we have here? Gotta laugh sometimes. You know, it's not all gloom and doom. At least we can laugh about the tyranny. Yeah, racism is made up to divide people. I agree 100%. Most of it's propagandized. It's hyperbolized. They'll take a few instances and they'll doctor up the story and then spread it far and wide to make it sound like it's something going on across the nation and it's prevalent, and it's really not. So, I'm a chocolate brother. I look like, I guess you guys have seen pictures of me. Well, I guess you like coffee with cream in it. Caramel, I don't know. Some people call it mulatto. I don't like that term. All right, you guys. Well, we'll be back on here tomorrow with Between the Headlines. Tomorrow's an important show because it's all about where everything's headed. They're talking about domestic flights, you guys. Domestic flights being required to have a sticker. There's a law being passed. They're also talking about bank accounts and the average person having to report, or the bank having to report, any kind of transactions over $600 into your account by someone. That would have to be reported as income. Unbelievable. They have never, ever touched bank accounts before. They used to be a safe place. So for all you people getting cash, well, you can't put it in the bank anymore. Pretty much going to have to just carry cash around, I guess. I guess this is where this is all headed. And pretty soon, they're not going to accept cash. And you're pretty much just going to have to, that's what everything's coming to bear. This is what it's all going to happen, you guys. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Love each and every one of you. Take care.